This video is inspired by a comment I received from one of our viewers with the user handle at Angie Stowe. They wrote, "I won't lie to you about the disappointment I still feel today. I sent money that I worked hard for and never received what I was supposed to. I'm still interested in Ifa and its teachings, but I'm starting to think that a long distance consultation might not be the best option. What do you think? Does the Babalawo need to see me physically to do a consultation? Are consultations on a long distance effective? What information does a Babalawo need to know about someone before being able to do a consultation? Hope you can answer my questions. Blessings to you and your family, and thank you for your work." Firstly, I would like to say thank you for your questions at Angie Stowe. I share your disappointment that this has been your experience, but hopefully this video will help you and others to avoid similar mistakes. Maybe you're watching this and you've had a similar experience as this viewer. You finally decided to step into Ifa, but your first experience with the Babalawo left you confused, ignored, or even fearful, like you're walking on eggshells. You saved up your money, paid for a consultation, and suddenly the Babalawo or Iyanifa goes completely silent. They ghost you and they leave your messages unread. You paid for a divination, trusted the process and the person on the other end, but never received a single response. When you came into Ifa, you expected a welcoming community and clear guidance, but your experience was far from that. It is incredibly frustrating, and it makes so many people want to give up on their Ifa journey completely. But hopefully, you're like Angie Stowe, who, despite this setback, is still very much interested in moving forward in their Ifa journey. You see, there are many who are aware of the massive spiritual awakening that is happening right now, and that people deeply desire to reconnect with their traditional spirituality through Ifa. But as with anything, bad actors will always try to take advantage of this, which can derail and discourage you. So you have to be very careful who you trust online before you send them your money. Here's the good news. On the way to your destination in this Ifa journey, these are obstacles that you will face, but they're just tests. And today we are going to learn the exact steps to vet and choose the right Babalawo or Iyanifa for your own unique journey. You will discover the core questions you should ask, the subtle tests you can use to determine if a Babalawo is right for you, and the absolute truth about long distance consultations so that you can confidently take control of your spiritual path. First, let me clear this up. There is no such thing as a universally good or bad Babalawo. Priests are simply different in their calling, expertise, communication, and experience, just like you would wear a different necklace for a royal event versus a trip to the beach. Although both are necklaces, they differ in quality and are not suitable for all occasions. In the same way, in Isheshe we have Babalawos and Iyanifas. We also have Iyalorishas and Babalorisha who work with a specific Orisha, such as Oshun or Yemoja. We also have Onishegun, who specialize in the use of herbs and so on and so forth. They all have their area of specialization and their functions differ. Just like not all doctors specialize in the same area, some specialize with the heart, others specialize with eyes, others specialize with the skin. They all have their areas of specialization, although their work can complement each other. In unique circumstances, I've consulted an Iyalorisha and also an Iyanifa on the same issue, and the outcome has been complementary towards each other. But those are rare circumstances, and usually you would need just one or the other. Step one is to write down exactly what you need. Before you even speak to a Babalawo, Iyanifa, Babalorisha, or Iyalorisha, you must ask yourself foundational questions. Ask yourself, what do I want? What are my needs? And what is the outcome I'm looking for from this consultation? For example, do you need direction about your career, a relationship challenge, or do you want to know the cause of a financial difficulty you're experiencing? Then, to dig even deeper, you need to be clear on the kind of Babalawo that will be right for you. What are your expectations of a Babalawo, of a priest, of an Iyanifa, of an Iyalorisha? Ask yourself, if you were a Babalawo, what are the exact things you would provide to your clients and to those who come to you for consultation? Put all of this into a clear list. You need to treat this entire process like you're interviewing somebody for a job, because at the end of the day, you're going to pay them. Step two is to ask some stylish yet targeted questions based on that list that you created in step one. Once you've identified some potential priests or priestesses that you want to work with, don't just assume a priest will magically know who you are and what fits your life. Just because a priest has millions of followers or knows how to do spiritual work doesn't necessarily mean that they're the right one or the right match for you. As you communicate with them, ask questions that reveal whether or not they actually fit into what's going to work for you. For example, if English is your primary language and English isn't their primary language, maybe you're living in the diaspora and the priest you're considering is living in Africa, maybe in Nigeria. Ask questions that test if they can bridge that communication gap fluently so that they can clearly understand your needs and that you can clearly receive the outcome of the consultation. Step three is to test how patient they are with you. Ask them a question about the tradition, about Ifa, about Isheshe, and then intentionally ask them to explain it again. And then watch or listen to their reaction closely. If they sound agitated or completely refuse to break things down, that is a potential red flag. Ifa is pure knowledge. It's not magic. It's not some abracadabra, hocus pocus. It is pure knowledge. And the challenge sometimes is that most older generation babalawos assume you come from a family that already practices the tradition. So they might only give you the most basic information with the expectation that when you go back home, your family and your loved ones and those close to you will elaborate. But if you're transitioning from an Abrahamic religion and starting with zero knowledge, and you don't have that support system around you who understand Isheshe, you need to find a priest who has the time, patience, and skill to actually teach you. And if the priest you're working with doesn't have the patience to break things down for you, although they may be good, they might not be the right person for you, even if they're skilled at what they do. Here's an important point I need to make. The most important question isn't a question that you ask your Babalawo out loud. It is one you ask yourself after interacting with them. Do you feel like you have to walk on eggshells around this person? Do they terrify you? Do they make you feel afraid? If you're too terrified of them to respectfully express dissatisfaction because you think maybe they'll go and curse you at their shrine, then you'll never get the results you're looking for to help you improve the quality of your life and your journey. Because you need to be able to fully express yourself with the priest you're working with. You need a guide that you can actually talk to and pour out your heart to. Even if someone is reputable and has great integrity, they may not necessarily be the right person for you. So always listen to your Ori, to your inner spirit, to see if you truly align. And this is something I always tell people that reach out to me when they're looking for a Babalawo. I don't personally consult for people, but I do have Babalawos, Iyalawos, Iyalorishas that I trust that do consultation for me, that divine for me. And although I trust them and I align with them, I know that not everybody will. So when people reach out to me, even when I refer these priests and priestesses, I will always give the caveat that make sure you search within yourself and check that you feel they align with you as well. Just because they work for me and align with me doesn't necessarily mean it will be the same for you. So that's very, very important. Listen to your Ori, let your Ori direct you. Listen to your spirit and see if your spirit is in agreement or if your spirit has a resistance towards any potential priest or priestess that you're looking to work with. And once you find a priest who passes these tests, the logistics of the consultation then come into play. Which brings us back to the questions from Angie Stowe, our viewer, at the beginning of this video. Does a Babalawo need to see you physically to do a consultation? The simple answer to that is no. A Babalawo or Iyanifa or Babalorisha, Yalorisha, they don't need to see you physically to consult for you. Obviously, it's better if you can be there in person, but you do not need to be there in person. What I recommend is using someone with a track record of providing evidence of their work. The priests that I work with, they provide video evidence, a video recording of the divination or any ebo or etutu appeasements that were done on my behalf or on behalf of their clients in order to show full transparency. So I recommend working with somebody who's willing to do that as well, to show evidence that they actually delivered on what the two of you agreed upon or what they said they were going to do. Yes, it's great to be able to take their word for it, but seeing is believing. So if they can provide video evidence or maybe even put you on a live call as they're doing whatever it is, whether it's the consultation or the EBO, the E22, and so on and so forth, even better. This brings us to the next question. Are long distance consultations actually effective? And the answer to that is absolutely. If you're working with a true Babalawo or Iyanifa, distance isn't an issue. I've done several consultations where my priests are located in a completely different country, in a different continent, and I still get the results that I'm looking for. Because Ifa is not limited to a geographical location, and which is exactly how Ifa survived and made it to different parts of the world despite efforts to suppress it. As long as you follow the instructions you receive from divination and make the prescribed appeasements, the distance doesn't matter. What matters is your obedience to the instructions that you receive. So, what information does a Babalawo actually need to know about you before they can do a consultation? They need to know your name and your mother's name. This is standard questions that they will ask you. And they'll also need to know the reason that you came for the consultation. The reason they ask for your mother's name and not your father's is because only one mother can give birth to a child. The man raising a child isn't always necessarily the biological father of the child, and the man might not even be aware that he's not the biological father. But it's impossible to fake motherhood, which is why they ask for the name of the mother. And then when they do the divination, they will say they've come on behalf of Jack, the son of Rebecca. So that helps to narrow down and if I know specifically the identity of the person being consulted for. Everything is done for a purpose. It's so that the information given to Ifa is accurate, so that correct and accurate information can be received back. It's like putting the wrong information into a search engine and expecting to get the right set of results in the output. If you put in the wrong information, you're going to get the wrong output, which is why they ask these questions. It's also incredibly important that you're clear on the purpose of your consultation and the exact questions or situations in your life that you want answers to before going for the reading. Here's another crucial thing to keep in mind. Your Babalawo is not your teacher. You are paying them to perform specific rites and spiritual functions. Any extra time they spend explaining the deep verses of your Odu is a massive bonus. The true responsibility to dig for information, learn, and grow is completely on you. This is one of the reasons I started this channel, to bridge that education gap. Many Babalawos are great at what they do, but they aren't necessarily teachers. And one of the things we do on this channel is break down the verses in Odu Ifa to see how we can practically apply them into our lives in a way that's relatable and relevant in today's world. So make sure you hit that subscribe button if you want to keep on learning. Now, bear in mind that with every divination, an ebo or a tutu may be required. And it's always going to cost money to do that. That's just the reality. There's no way to sugarcoat it. So you have to dedicate time and, if possible, map out a monthly budget to invest in your own spiritual education. And it's also a good idea to set regular funds aside as an appeasement fund so that the costs related to your consultations, ebo, itutu, and so on and so forth don't come as a surprise. Now, if you're ready to stop walking in the dark and start taking control of your destiny, hit that subscribe button right now to get your regular dose of Ifa knowledge, and click the join button below this video to join our channel membership and get access to exclusive content that will aid your Ifa journey. Your blessing is here right now. Take action and claim it. Ashe.